Testing 1, 2. All right, let's try this cam. This is this mic. This one's a little bit different. Not the same one I normally use, so I do apologize. So it may sound a little different tonight. And if you need to go back and re-listen, we will have this broadcast posted in audio format over on Patreon. We'll be able to clean the audio up a little bit. But I have no idea what happened. This is the first time I've ever had a problem with this mic. I've had it for over a year now, and never had a problem with it. So I don't know what happened. But anyway, we did. Looks like I'm back on. I think I have sound now. So, all right. So everybody's saying yes. Okay. All good. Sound is back. Okay. So I do apologize. I'm going to sound a little echoey. I'm using a different mic that I don't normally like to use because it sounds funny. But I think we're going to have to just make do with what we got this evening. So, all right. We'll try this again. Welcome, everyone. Daily Excellence. It is Tuesday night, January 13th. And man, is it a lot of weird stuff going on around the world, a lot of weird stuff going on in our weather patterns. And so tonight we're going to get into several discussions tonight. If you didn't see what I had posted earlier, and that's Iran, Cuba, and Greenland. Oh my! Kind of reminds you of the whole lions and tigers and bears. Oh my! Yeah, that's what we got tonight. Iran, Cuba, and Greenland. Oh my! I honestly didn't know how to title what we got going on around the world. I kind of used that title last week, but things just continue to escalate. And at the same time, not only just escalate, but it seems like they're like prolonging itself a little bit. It seems like. So I don't know what to think. But Iran is in complete chaos tonight. We've got warships surrounding Cuba. And of course, Greenland. There is the possibility that Greenland could become either, a territory, a province of the United States, or who knows. I've even seen some GOP lawmakers putting it out there that Greenland just might be the 51st state. I don't think the 50,000 people living in Greenland are too happy about that. So we'll see what happens. But there is a lot going on. And then, of course, we've got some very wild weather patterns coming up next week. I'm not too sure if I'll get a chance to actually get into that, but hang tight because there's some very strange weather that's going to be coming in next week. And especially if you live on the West Coast, you have what looks to be another Pineapple Express or atmospheric river on the way that'll pour in to the West Coast and then eventually transverse across the United States. At the same time, Arctic vortex is expected to drop in, or with all of that coming into the United States. Some very chaotic weather patterns moving in for next week. So just giving you guys a warning now. For those of you who haven't seen it, you can kind of sort of, if anyone who's been paying attention to some of the live feeds that we had going up over on DE Studios the last couple of days, have had the jet stream globe going, and you can actually see some of that. Some of what I'm talking about coming our direction. So a lot going on tonight, a lot going on around the world. And so we're going to get into a couple articles. Just give everybody a heads up too. Tonight's going to be one of those nights. I'm going to read some articles, but I think tonight is going to be a lot of opinion night. And that's basically where I'm going to kind of just give you my 2 cents of what I feel, what I think. Doesn't necessarily mean that whatever I feel or whatever I think is going to happen. It's just hypothesis. It's just my personal opinion. Okay, I don't have any 3-letter agencies under my in my pocket or anything like that. I'm just a regular guy, just having a regular conversation with a bunch of like-minded people in the chat room. And so that's pretty well what's going to happen with that. And then, of course, we'll go over some announcements. So quick roll call real quick before we give our sponsor a little opportunity. But we got BJ Bumblebee in the house. Thank you so much for being here. We're one of our moderators. We got John Van Bell, also one of our moderators in the house. We got Denny Salino. Thank you so much. He kind of helps us out over on Twitter X. Appreciate you, sir. We got Kimberly from COT hanging out with us. We got Des 5229. Good to see you with us. Belinda Repose says Canada is next. We'll see. You never know. We got Venus Sage joining in with us. We got Donna Odman, 2847 with us. We got Richard McVeigh with us. Rattling Bones, Shelly joining us. We've got Jim hanging out with us tonight. Dean Lovett. Melody Dwight. Marie Avery. Linda Burleson. It's a lot of people. Mighty Doe. And if I've missed your name, I do apologize. I think Jason House is joining us. So yeah, a lot of people. Thank you guys for being here. Please like, share, subscribe, give us a thumbs up. And we'll be right back in about 60 seconds after our sponsor.
With over 37 models that can be used around the world, our family of EMP protection devices installs easily in minutes. Being employed this year by federal organizations and electrical companies, the EMP Shield has been tested at Keystone Compliance, a federally approved DoD testing facility. Also serving as one of the world's fastest whole home surge protection devices, working in less than 1 nanosecond, the EMP Shield will protect against electromagnetic pulses, coronal mass ejections, lightning, and all forms of power surges. Proven to withstand more than 40 EMP strikes with zero degradation, the EMP Shield is also one of the world's strongest surge protectors, capable of withstanding over 100,000 amps.
All right, that's our sponsor, EMP Shield. We give guys discounts if you buy EMP Shield device. Of course, that device protects anything that you have on anything you have in your home that is electrical that you would like to protect, whether it's a generator, your car, your house, your boat, anything like that. You can install the EMP device. It protects your electronics from electromagnetic pulses, whether it comes from lightning, it comes from something from the sun, solar flare, or if it comes from some type of weaponry. This device is made here in the United States. It is not made in China. And of course, our Department of Homeland Security uses these devices. And so we sell those things. If you use promo code DAILY when you go to check out, you will save yourself $50 on your device. That's right. You will save yourself $50. We have one of the best discounts on around. Most places you only save about 10-15% when you do it, but here we actually get you $50 off that device. So you go to empshield.com, shop around, see what you want, and get your device. Use promo code DAILY and save $50 on your device. So thank you so much for doing that. Of course, when you do that, you not only do you get a good product, protect your home, but you support us here over on Daily Excellence as well. All right. Jonas, good to see you, all from Quebec, Canada. Thank you so much. We got Arnie B lurking around and listening. Thank you so much for being here tonight as well. Let's see what else we got going on here. For those of you who didn't get a chance, we had some. We were testing out our live feeds over on Daily Excellence and over on DE Studios. We did the first 24 hours here on Daily Excellence. There was a little bit of confusion with that. Some people were getting kind of confused, thinking that Mike was going to come on or that we were going to broadcast something new from him, and that's not what was happening. We were just testing it out. So we put together a list of old broadcasts from COT, about a 10-hour list, just to kind of play in the background as we were having live feeds of earthquakes and live feeds of weather maps and things like that. But people kind of got confused about that here on the main channel. So we ran it. We did another test, ran it for about 3 days over on DE Studios. It seemed to go a little bit better over there. Of course, I had to pull it down because I can't run live on this and OBS at the same time without a bit of a pullback on our broadband. So we had to cut that down. So we will bring it back up. We're still trying to work out a few kinks there. We need to upload some widgets that will help switch slides out, because we had a lot more slides that we could have used. We have updates on volcanoes that go off. We have updates on sun activity that we could put up. We had live feed cameras, things like that we had it orchestrated, put together. But without somebody behind the controls, those never do actually show up. So we're looking for a way to kind of like switch those feeds around. And honestly, I'm looking for music too. We would like to not only just put some background, but at nighttime, not everybody's up all night long listening to Mike. And so we're looking for a way to put up a little bit of music in the background that will not cause me any copyright issues. So if anybody has any ideas of how to have that done, please send me a message over at support@dailyexcellence.org. I would love to figure out how to do that for sure. So we're still working on it. We'll probably bring that up. I don't know if we'll actually be able to do it 7 days a week, 24/7, just because it's a bit of a wear on our systems, but we may designate a day of the week on both channels where we may have a live feed going. Or, for example, when the summertime rolls around, when we have hurricane season taking place or something major that breaks loose, we now have the ability to cut in on broadcasts and do live feeds from several different angles, where before we could never do that. We always had to kind of rely on a different channel, and we could never broadcast it on YouTube. We always had to put it on X. But because we were able to do live feeds like that now, gone are those days, and so we're able to do a whole lot more. So it's been a great great advance forward for us. And so just kind of hang in there with us a little bit as we try to work through some more kinks that we need to do. But other than that, the testing seemed to go pretty good. We had over 1,000 people that checked it out, and it was a good thing. So anyway, that's what's going on with the live feeds. I hope it kind of explains things a little bit better of what was taking place. I know John Van Bell had a fun time trying to redirect everyone and trying to make things make sense and things like that. So, all right, he has music. Who has music? Ari, who has music? Because I don't have hardly any music I can play that I can loop around for 24 hours. So, but if you know anybody that does, that's not going to cause me a copyright, I would definitely appreciate it. All right, enough of me rambling on. Let's move into some of the news that's taken place. Okay, let's see. Let's start with Donald Trump tonight. Yes, BpEarthWatch does have some music. I actually reached out to BP and I asked him if I could purchase any from him and use it, but I haven't received anything back from him yet. But yes, he has great music. But even if I purchase it from him, doesn't necessarily means that he would be willing to allow me to stream it 24/7 here on the channel. I got to get special permission from him to do that because it may flag it on my end. So I'm waiting for him to respond back, but he hasn't said anything to me yet. So, all right, here we go. Oh boy. Trump tells Iranians keep protesting, says help is on the way and regime will pay a big price. So here we go. This article came out today. And we'll see. President Donald Trump issued a public message to Iranians taking part in the ongoing protests, urging them to continue demonstrating and signaling that consequences would follow for the country's ruling leadership, according to reporting by New York Post. Speaking in blunt terms, Trump framed the protest as a turning point and suggested that outside pressure would intensify against the regime. In his remarks, Trump addressed protesters directly, telling them that their actions were being watched and that support was forthcoming. He portrayed the demonstrations as part of a broader struggle against repression, casting the Iranian government as vulnerable and increasingly isolated. His language emphasized resolve and punishment, promising that the leader would pay a big price for its response to unrest. The comments fit a familiar pattern in Trump's approach to Iran, marked by confidential rhetoric and the willingness to speak over the heads of foreign governments and their citizens. Throughout his political career, he has favored public warnings and high-pressure messaging, often compelling encouragement in opposition movements with threats of sanctions or other penalties. Reactions to such statements have historically been mixed. Supporters argue that vocal backing from a U.S. president can embody protesters and signal international attention. So Trump basically telling the Iranian regime, or the Iranian regime, that basically if you don't leave the protesters alone, and if you don't stop mistreating these guys, the United States is going to get involved. Of course, we've been seeing that in the news all week. But today, he kind of comes out with a stark warning and actually tells the people that help is on the way, essentially. And it's kind of alluding to the fact that the United States may get involved and do something. Of course, we've been anticipating something since last Tuesday night when we had Greg from NyPrepper on the channel. We've been kind of anticipating some type of a military movement against Iran with not just the United States, but Israel as well. So we'll see what takes place. Of course, gas prices are now beginning to reflect the tensions, as you know, our prices went up 50 cents in the last couple of days here in our area because of all the craziness that is going on in Iran. Now, part of the reason why Trump is going after Iran has to do with this news that also came out, breaking news that came out today from the Middle East as well. And it's this. It says that over 12,000 feared dead in Iran. Video shows bodies lined up at the morgue. Okay, so here's what's going on here. Excuse me. Reports emerging from Iran suggest that true human cost of the country's ongoing protest crackdown may be far higher than officially acknowledged. According to CBS News, activists and human rights monitors say that more than 12,000 people are feared dead, a figure that continues to rise as new evidence surfaces, including leaked video footage that appears to show rows of bodies inside morgues. Protests began after a widespread public anger over government policies and alleged abuses by security forces, which started as a demonstration in the streets, has turned into a sustained national movement met by a forceful response from authorities. Security forces have used arrest, live ammunition, and mass detention to suppress dissent, according to opposition groups and international observers. One of the most disturbing elements of recent reporting is video said to have been filmed inside an Iranian morgue. The video shows numerous bodies wrapped and laid out close together, suggesting deaths on a scale far beyond what the government has admitted. Activists say these images support long-standing claims that fatalities are being concealed and that families are often pressured not to speak publicly about how their relatives died. Iranian officials have consistently disputed high death tolls, estimating offering far low numbers and blaming unrest on foreign interferers. So this is part of the reason why Trump's saying he's going in, is because it is believed, or I guess you can say alleged. Okay, we got to be careful how we portray things here on YouTube. But it is alleged that the Iranian government is using live ammunition or is going after protesters and just basically shooting them to stop them from protesting. So that may be what's taking place there. So we'll take a look at that. So anyway, we've got the United States trying to get involved in Iran. And if that wasn't enough, there's more, right? There's always more. Hello to everybody watching us over on Rumble, and those of you watching us over on X. Good to have you guys with us this evening. Thank you for being here. All right. So now we got Trump protests saying that help is on the way. We got protesters getting shot in the streets. Now, what does Iran have to say? All right. Well, this came out today, too. It was a busy day in the news, guys. But Iran warns that they are fully prepared for war if outsiders interfere in deadly protest. Iranian government says it is ready to defend itself if foreign powers step into a wave of protests shaking the country, with foreign minister warning that any outside interference could trigger a military response. This is according to the New York Post. Speaking aimed ongoing demonstrations, the minister framed the unrest as a domestic matter and accused unnamed external actors of trying to exploit public anger and destabilize the state. According to the remarks, Tehran believes the protesters are being encouraged and amplified by hostile governments and media outlets abroad. Officials insist that while citizens have the right to voice grievances, attempts by outsiders to influence events inside Iran cross a red line. The foreign minister said the country's armed forces are on alert and capable of responding swiftly if that line is crossed. The government's message mixed defiance with reassurance. On one hand, leaders stress that Iran does not seek conflict but prefers political solution to internal tensions. On the other, they emphasize national security would be protected at all costs, portraying readiness for war as a deterrent rather than a threat. Okay? So, let's see. Just excuse me here. So we got Iran stating that they are prepared to defend themselves if they need to. That basically, if the United States or any country, Israel, gets involved, that they are going to come in and they are going to take matters into their own hands if we get involved. Of course, we've seen this rhetoric before, and we've seen actually what Iran does. And I hate to say that. And maybe they're restraining themselves, maybe they're holding themselves back. But we have seen what happens when Iran decides to act, and there hasn't been a whole lot to it. And that's kind of the point that Donald Trump made earlier today. On X, he said that we've seen what Iran can do, and he's pretty well not afraid. I'm paraphrasing a lot of what Trump said. So there's that particular instance that's taking place, and I am building to something tonight. All right, Turkey now warns that if there's a foreign intervention in Iran, that it could lead to a crisis in the Middle East. Of course, Turkey's always doing that. Now, we have the Iranian situation that's taking place. Of course, if we come back here to our hemisphere, we got our own problems. We've got Venezuela, that we have gone in and ousted the president there. Of course, a lot of people up in arms about Venezuela. The Venezuelans are, for the most part, pretty happy about that. A particular party here in the United States, not so happy about it. Of course, during the Biden administration, that particular party was actually in favor of doing what Trump just did. So you can kind of see the hypocrisy going around on that particular one. Also, the same party doesn't seem to have an opinion on what's going on in Iran, or the reports that thousands of people are being shot in the streets for being able to lift their voice. No one's seen that the Democrats don't seem to care. They don't have an opinion about that. Maybe because the person trying to help to liberate them isn't a Democrat, and so they don't care. Not their monkey, not their business, I guess. I don't know. That's just my personal opinion, but it's very odd. For years, we've yelled about humanitarian rights in places like Iran or Iraq or other places, and then when something actually gets done about it, or is potentially going to get done about it, then nobody says anything. It's quiet. So there's that going on. So anyway, Venezuela being liberated little by little. Also, a picture came out today from the White House, or from the Trump team, of Trump just kind of an AI mock-up of Trump being president of Venezuela, which caused a lot of strife and controversy across the internet today. If that wasn't enough, we have Cuba, which we have ships surrounding Cuba. Part of that is to cut oil to Cuba. Now, we talked about this last week that I believe that Trump is going to make a push for Cuba to liberate Cuba and to make Cuba potentially part of the U.S. as a territory. It's already been stated that Cuba would be great for the tourist industry. Cuba would be great for giving making jobs, as of course everybody and their brother and sister would have to go down there and fix the entire island because of 67 years of communism has really destroyed the infrastructure and the buildings in that island area. So no oil is allowed to go there. Some commentators believe that Trump will probably not even have to fire one shot or even have to send anybody in, that the country will fall and fold on its own. And this is my cat, Mr. Zinger. And I had a feeling that might happen. So anyway, we'll see what happens with Cuba, but I got a feeling that we're going to be hearing a lot more about Cuba coming soon, and we may acquire Cuba. Okay. Now, if Cuba wasn't enough, and there hasn't really been anything in the news today about Cuba, so I don't really have anything to show you other than we've got reports of ships surrounding the Cuban island, but that's been going on for a few days. We have Trump's push, and I talked about this at the beginning. We have Trump's Greenland push advances as GOP lawmaker pushes to make America's 51st state. That's right. 51st state. We're talking about Greenland potentially being the 51st state of the United States. I talked about this last week a little bit, but I remember when Trump talked about taking Greenland, and he actually said this on day one. Okay, this was kind of a campaign promise that he was going to get Greenland. Remember on the first day when Trump was inaugurated, and he was signing all his executive orders that day, he talked about how he was going to take Greenland. He talked about how he was going to rename the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. And he talked about a lot of crazies. He talked about taking Canada. Okay. And so, of course, we saw some pushes, and there's even some territories in Canada that would like to be part of the United States, but not all of them. Okay, not all Canadians are agreeing with that one. That conversation, to my understanding, has ceased for now, but it could pick back up again if Canada is surrounded by U.S. property. So we'll see what happens. But here's what's going on. Trump's Greenland push advances as GOP lawmakers push to make it America's 51st state. Donald Trump's longstanding interest in acquiring Greenland has gained new momentum, with a Republican lawmaker introducing legislation to authorize and move and pave the way for it to become the 51st U.S. state. As a report by Fox News, Florida Representative Randy Fine is set to propose a bill that empowers Trump to negotiate a voluntary purchase of the vast Arctic territory from Denmark, highlighting its strategic value aimed at rising geopolitical tensions. This development builds on Trump's first-term advocacy when he emphasized national security beliefs, including Greenland's proximity to Russia and its abundance of critical minerals essential for technology and defense. Okay. Historically, the U.S. has had ties to Greenland, notably protecting it during World War II when Denmark was unable to do so. Fine arguments that American sovereignty would improve conditions for Greenland's residents who face high poverty rates under Danish rule and what he described as socialist governance. He contends that U.S. oversight could bring economic prosperity, better infrastructure, and integration into democratic framework, contrasting with Denmark's alleged neglect. From a security perspective, controlling Greenland would strengthen U.S. Arctic presence, countering Russian influence and securing supply chains for rare earth elements. Proponents see this as a forward-thinking expansion akin to past territorial acquisitions like Alaska or Hawaii, which ultimately benefited the nation economically and strategically. However, the proposal isn't without controversy. Greenland's leaders have firmly rejected the idea, asserting their desire for autonomy and stated outright, "We don't want to be Americans." Critics worry about the implications of forcing acquisition, especially after White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt declined to rule out military force in recent briefing, rattling some Republicans despite fine insists on voluntary process. Constitutionally, adding a state requires constitutional approval, resident consent via constitution, and presidential sign-off, steps that could face hurdles given local opposition and international diplomacy. Secretary of State Marco Rubio's upcoming meeting with Danish officials underscores the administration's diplomatic push, potentially exploring incentives like economic aid or share resource management. Edge case includes environmental concerns as Greenland's melting ice sheets raise climate questions or indigenous rights of its impunite population. So anyway, a lot taking place here with Greenland, as it looks like, Trump is eyeing Greenland. Republicans, for the most part, the GOP, the Republicans are in agreement to take Greenland. However, they split on the military action of going in and just militarily claiming the land. That's where the Republicans seem to kind of part ways on that one. However, if it is voluntarily done or done in a non-military fashion, it looks like the Republicans will go along with it. And so if Trump is going to acquire Greenland, it would be really in the near future, because as we push toward the summer and fall months, we are facing midterms. And historically, a president who acquires both the House and the Senate usually doesn't keep the House and the Senate when the midterms run. I think it's only happened a couple of times in U.S. history. So there's a very good chance, based upon history, that Trump will probably lose one or both, the House or the Senate, when the midterms come through. And so anything that Trump is trying to do, he is going to do it now while he has full clearance to do so. So that's part of the reason why you're seeing such massive moves right now, because Trump knows that if he doesn't do it now, he may not get the chance to after the midterms. Matter of fact, Trump even made a statement saying that when the midterms come around, and if he loses the House and the Senate, that there's a good chance he will be impeached. And so we'll see what happens there. But I don't know. I can kind of see Greenland's hesitancy to want to be part of the U.S. I mean, look what we just came out of with the Biden administration and the Obama years. It wasn't very pretty in the United States, and so and we don't know, but those people that were in charge of all that are still in office. They're still there. No one left. Nobody went anywhere except for Biden. Okay, I mean, you still have AOC, you still got Chuck Schumer, you still got the radical left, you still got that crazy lady from in Congress from Minnesota. Everybody's still in place. I mean, all they have to do is just get somebody behind reelected, and all those policies, all those liberal policies, are going to come right back. The problem with the Trump administration is a lot of what he has done has been by executive order, and just like Trump overrode Biden's executive orders. If someone comes in and if we don't make these things law, somebody's going to come in. They're going to ride over everything that Trump has done. We're going to go right back to where we were in 24 hours. So, would you want to be part of the United States? Maybe while Trump is in office, but it's not going to hold. We got 2.5 years left, and then Trump cannot run again. Okay, despite the rumors out there that Trump's going to go for a third term, it's impossible. He cannot do that. It's not going to happen. So, but anyway, Let's see. So that's what's going on there. So what does all this mean, right? Like, here's where I'm going to kind of get into my opinion stuff. Is what is the end result of all of this? Where is this taking us? If you look at it from an end times perspective, let's just say, and this is kind of where maybe you can keep an eye open to everything that's going on, and maybe just kind of remove, for example, oil, remove the GOP landscape, remove everything that's happening in our government, and just kind of look at the land grabs that are taking place. Now, we haven't seen land grabs, not in my lifetime, but we haven't seen land grabs in a very long time. But now we're starting to see that. We see Russia taking Ukraine. We see, and I think Russia is going to get Ukraine, by the way. We see China taking Taiwan, taking Hong Kong, or they haven't taken Taiwan, but I think they will eventually. And I think China will probably take the Southwestern Sea as well. And I think Trump knows this, and this is why there's such a big push now for this, Monroean doctrine that we're looking at, or Monroe Doctrine, I should say, not Monroe, but Monroe Doctrine, to really protect this particular part of the hemisphere, because the other parts are moving. Okay, the other parts, they're taking land. There's a plan to really consolidate the lands and the borders. Okay, now when you look at it from an end times perspective, we know that eventually the world will be split up into 10 different kingdoms. Okay, so is it possible that what we're seeing right now is more than just political stuff, more than just resources, but is it possible that in the background, somebody may be saying, hey, let Trump do what he wants to do, but don't make it look like we're just going to hand it over to him. Make it look like it's a fight, but at the end of the fight, we're going to let the United States do what they want to do, because we need the world to start consolidating. We need United States and Greenland and Canada and Cuba and Venezuela and Colombia and Mexico. We need them to be all one space, because that may be kingdom number one. Okay, China, let's make it look like it's going to be a big old fight over in China, but at the end, they're going to get Taiwan. They're going to get the Southwestern Seas. They may take Indonesia. They may take the Philippines. We're going to let them have all that, because that's going to be kingdom number two, right? Let's take over into Europe. Let's let Russia reclaim everything from the USSR. Let's let Russia take all of Europe, okay? Let's let Russia have all of that, because that may be kingdom number three, right? Australia, hey, you're on your own. You're just going to be your own kingdom down there. But anyway, I'm just kind of spitballing. But I'm just saying that when we begin to look at the end times and what's taking place, the world's going to have to start coming together, and there are going to be no borders, okay? It's going to be a borderless society, because we're going to be under one governance and one economy. And so how does that begin to happen? Well, you start doing land grabs, okay? Because don't you think once we get Greenland, which is there's actually a really decent possibility that Greenland's going to become part of the United States. Okay, well, they're going to switch over to the U.S. dollar. Okay, Cuba, we get Cuba. There's a chance we actually could get Cuba. Okay, they're going to switch over to the U.S. dollar. All right, Venezuela could switch over to the U.S. dollar if they want to sell petro to us, right? And so you're going to have to start consolidating all these places. But at some point, somebody's going to come along and they're going to say, okay, United States, you got all this, but now I need you to be a part of this regime. I need you to be a part of this plan. I need you to be part of the global operation. Well, United States becomes part of that global operation. We just took the entire Western hemisphere with them, right? So let's simplify this a little bit more. Oh, here he is again. Oh. Let's simplify this a little bit more. The Antichrist comes into fruition. Now, I don't know. I personally believe the Antichrist is here. He's walking around among us. We just don't know who he is yet because our eyes have not been open to see that yet. The time is not now. However, I do think that person, that entity, is with us, and so let's just say this person comes to power. The global governments are wooed by this person, and there's not going to be a whole lot of convincing that's going to need to take place because everything has already started coming together. There's already been consolidations of countries and of land masses and all these things. Well, right now, it would be very difficult to pull that off because you would have to go and talk to the 90 plus nations represented in the UN, plus the other ones that are not represented. Probably well over 100 nations plus that you're going to have to go and convince. Where if we start the land grabs, we start consolidating, that number dwindles down quite a bit, and it doesn't take so long to create a one world government. So I say all that to say this, that even though Trump may have good intentions for doing what he is doing, this isn't like a far-fetched idea because even several years ago, there was even talk of Canada and the United States and Mexico all becoming one with the same currency and having open borders and things like that. It's not a far-fetched idea. We've seen this talk before. And so calling it the North America Alliance is what it was. Matter of fact, depending on what state you live in, if you live here in Michigan, you can get what they call a special kind of driver's license where as long as you have that license, you can get entry into Canada, you can get entry into Mexico, you can get entry into any place on this part of the Western Hemisphere. They call it an enhanced driver's license. We already have. As long as you have that, you can go into Canada. You don't need a passport. You don't need to register with the government or anything like that. And so we've already seen this framework take place. And so I'm not saying that Trump is like a bad person. I'm not saying that Trump is the Antichrist. I'm not saying any of those things. But what I am saying is that they may use Trump's ambitions to lead us in that direction. Okay, like I said, the world stage is being set up for the man of perdition to come. Okay, and even though I stated this several months ago, back in last January, I stated this, that even though we got a break right now, we were heading in one direction under the Biden administration. That direction has changed under the Trump administration, but we're still going to the same place. We're just taking a different route, but we're still all heading to the same policies. We're heading to the same end result. And that's going to be a one world government. That's going to be a new financial system. That's going to be a one world religion. We're still heading in that direction. It hasn't stopped. It's just that we're taking a different route. Okay. We may be doing things on a nationalist level here in the United States right now, but we're still moving that direction. Take a look at everything that's going on with cryptocurrency and all the framework that's being put together and the changes that are taking place with the U.S. dollar. Look at the strong emergence of AI and artificial intelligence and everything that's going along with that. All that stuff is propelling us into this new world faster than anyone knows. Okay, and that's under a conservative government. Okay, that's under a conservative government. I'm not making fun of nobody. I'm not picking sides. I'm just saying that's happening under a conservative government. Okay, so it doesn't really matter who we have, whether it's a conservative government or a liberal government, left versus right. All agendas are leading us to the same place. Okay, and the elitists, they're looking at Trump and they're like, okay, Trump wants to do all this. Let's work with that. Okay, let's make it look like it's going to be a big fight, but at the end, let's let the United States have that. Let's let's orchestrate that, because later in the future, we're going to need all that. It's going to come back around. And so it's just something to think about. Like I said, this is all personal opinion, okay? But when you look at it, it makes a little bit of sense. You can kind of see how things are starting to move and how they're being orchestrated. And it doesn't matter who the person is. It doesn't matter what's taking place, or it doesn't matter who the person is affiliated with. You see the chess moves being made. You see how God is orchestrating all these things to make prophecy happen in His timing. Okay, it's in God's timing that these things take place. We have to move at a certain pace in this season and time. Now, there will come a day where the hands and the gloves are going to come off and we're going to jump straight into it, okay? But right now we're moving at a steady pace, but it's not stopping, okay? Prophecy is not stopping. Prophecy is moving forward. And I personally think that under the last administration that we were getting ahead, that we were moving a little bit ahead of prophecy. And so that's why Trump is in office. Really is to hold us back just a little bit, but we're still moving forward, okay? Everything that you see taking place is a prophetic thing. If we acquire Greenland, it's prophetic, okay? It fits under the umbrella of prophecy. There may not be anything in the Bible that says, oh, the United States is going to claim Greenland and Cuba and Venezuela in the last days. No, it doesn't say that. But when you see the nations coming together, okay, when you see the nations building upon themselves, when you see the breaking down of borders and things like that, that's the makings of a one world government. We already see it from a spiritual perspective, and we already see it from a technological perspective. We already see it from a monetary perspective, and we already see it in some ways from a government political perspective, but we haven't seen it in a physical form in a land perspective yet until now. Now we're seeing it in the actual, a tangible, physical perspective with the land grabs. Okay, so that's kind of what I wanted to iterate here. And all I'm saying is keep your eyes open. Okay, keep your eyes open to what is going on and understand that these things are going to take place. Okay, and understand that there's more to the story than just grabbing land to destroy drug trade, to disrupt human trafficking, or to take oil or to take minerals for our technology, which maybe a good intention at the very beginning, but understand that behind closed doors there's things that are not allowed to happen unless certain people allow them to happen. Okay, there is definitely a group, shall we say, that meets behind closed doors that really controls the entire globe, and they allow things to happen left or right. Okay, and I personally believe that within that group, that's probably where we see, in my personal opinion, the Antichrist being there, being a part of that global elitist group. Okay, some people, they have different names for them. Some people call them like the deep state. Some people call them the Gapals. Some people call them, the what was it, the 12 or 13 families. It whatever it may be. I don't know who they are. Not my business to really essentially know who they are. But we know that behind closed doors, there's a small group of people, and they're watching, and they're moving everything around in chess pieces. And don't think for 2 seconds that they're not watching what's happening here, and they're like, you know what, we're going to use this for our benefit in the near future. Let's go ahead and let the United States do what they want to do for right now. Okay, so that's my personal opinion on what's going on. It's a global matter. It's an end times matter. And just watch and wait and see what takes place, and like I said, I could be wrong. I don't have a 3-letter agency in my pocket. This is just what I feel. This is just what I'm observing. This is my opinion, my hypothesis. Doesn't necessarily mean that what I'm saying right now will actually happen. Okay, it very well may not happen. There's a possibility that we may not get Greenland, we may not get Cuba, we may not get any of these things, and something else completely crazy may take place. That's a very real possibility. Okay, so but I just wanted to give my opinion about it because it's what I feel. Okay, I just see it, and I see more of a long-term thing from all this, and I hope it makes sense. because I'm trying to, as I'm speaking, I'm trying to like articulate my thought pattern on all this. So John Van Bell says Greenland has the vaults for civilization. Okay. Denny says, I believe you're right, Pastor Anthony. I appreciate that. Let's see here. Belinda Repose says is waiting for the great return of the Lord. Mary Speed says that Trump possibly the first rider that goes forth to conquer. Okay. Denny says, especially when Trump says it will take Greenland the easy way or the hard way, we don't want to take it the hard way. It's kind of an odd to hear at present. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. You when you hear like weird rhetoric like that, it's strange, and who would have ever thought of, that, who would have ever thought that we were just going to go and take Greenland, or we're going to go take Cuba? I mean, Cuba's been like that little cousin that we don't talk to for decades. Okay, now all of a suddenly, we're going to do something about Cuba, and you would kind of think that if we were really that concerned about Cuba, we would have done that years ago. We could have actually done what's being done now back during the Cold War and took Cuba for ourselves. Back then, we had the ability to do so, even then. And so it's kind of strange, like, why now? Why now are we possibly going to take Cuba? Why now are we getting Venezuela? We could have stopped Venezuela before this even started. We could have stopped that a long time ago. I mean, it's not like the United States hasn't infiltrated or got involved in other government affairs. Our whole country's history is riddled in that, with things that we've done. Why now? There's a reason for why in this time, in this season, in the now times that we're in, that why now are we doing all these things? What's the real reason? I know what we're being told, I know what we're being seen, and it seems good. I'm happy for the people of Venezuela. They need to be liberated. It was a terrible thing. I'll be happy for the people of Cuba once they get freedom under Castro's control for the last 67 years and are able to finally get roofs over their head. It's a great thing. I'll be happy for them as well. But why now? It just doesn't make make sense. It's something, something appears to be odd there. It says, I think Trump makes some of those statements to appear stronger to China and Russia leadership who have history of taking land. Yeah. Lori Lee says they know something we don't. Well, yeah, they do know something. There's definitely something going on in the background, and it does lead to a one world government, for sure. And it's there's more to it, because all this stuff that we were talking about, we could have done this a long time ago. I mean, we just could have, So anyway, keep an eye, keep a lookout on everything that's taking place globally. We are in some unusual times. We are in uncharted times, but prophecy will move forward. Okay. I see. Off-grid desert farming. Good to have you on with us tonight. And Brother Paul says the United States put Castro into power in the first place, and we put Islamic in charge of Iran. And that proves my point. What I was just saying a little while ago. We've infiltrated governments, and we have orchestrated how things run. So, we put people in, we take people out, we change nations. If these things were really a problem, which I'm not saying they're not, but if these things were really a problem, we could have fixed them a long time ago. So why now? Why is it that we're doing this now? That's kind of the point that I'm bringing home there. So, all right, guys, it is after 9 o'clock here Eastern Standard Time, so I have gone over my hour tonight, but thank you guys so much for being here, being a part of the channel. Make sure that you guys just pray, don't fall into deception. Keep your eyes upon the Lord. Be smart and be vigilant, and just keep a watchful eye on the events that are going on, and pray for wisdom as we move forward. As we move forward in these prophetic times, okay? We'll be on with you guys tomorrow night at 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time for Pastor Talk Live here with myself and my wife. We'll see you guys tomorrow night. Also, we will be working on that 24-hour feed. We're going to I may even get a chance to work on it this evening. We'll see. But we're going to try to make some adjustments. And like I said, if anybody has a way of me being able to use music that's not going to give me a copyright or a strike for me to put on those feeds, I would love to come across that. Please let me know. Send me the information if you can as we try to work some of that out. Yes, thank you, John. We will have Mike on at 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on DE Studio, so please go and join that. We will have our moderators there to keep things up and going. Thank you, John, for reminding me of that. Appreciate that. Thank you, all of our moderators, for being here tonight, and for all of our COT family, Daily Excellence family, for joining us this evening. God bless you. And remember, you may be the only Jesus someone sees this week, so please keep a smile on your face. Good night, everyone.